Welcome into Wolves After Dark. Timberwolves advance to the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row. We are a top 4 team 2 years in a row. That is bonkers to
Let's
me.
go.
Let's go. If you're new here or if you're old here, we're both new and old. Like the video and leave a comment. Tell me your X factor of the series and tell me your series prediction. Feel free, if you're an OKC fan, you can join in as well. But your opinion will be wrong. Ashwin, we're in the Western Conference Finals again. We're going to go over our X factors. We're going to go over our predictions, talk about a little bit of the series here, what we expect. But what's your first reaction to OKC instead of Denver? How are you feeling about being in the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row? Give me your thoughts.
Wolves After Dark during the day.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I wrote down. All right, now I don't have any more thoughts. With a little matinee show for you. I'm very, very pumped. I'm very excited. I think, hey, welcome to the playoffs. It's not as easy. It's not like a cakewalk as sometimes it can surmount to be. Injuries played a huge role in our path towards the conference finals. But here's a fully fledged, healthy team, young, hungry, desperate, expected to win team. And we are the underdogs. We thrive under that pressure. And I am feeling very positive about this series, with a few concerns, of course, but overall feeling great. I think, yeah, you just said it right there. Back-to-back conference finals. What? That KG didn't do that. Ricky Davis didn't do it. It was Anthony Edwards and our band of misfits that have, according to our record, have fit together to find a calling and peak at the right time to get here. We have some flaws. We have some potential mismatches that aren't necessarily in our favor, but I feel great generally about this series. I think it's gonna be one hell of a series.
I agree. I am excited for this. I was in a way almost relieved to have it not be Denver.
Yeah.
It would have been. I think it would have been fun to have that rehashing of last year, and I'm sure for Denver that would have been very exciting for them to have a chance to get back at us at a higher stage. But I do think that the better team did prevail in that series. I think Denver was being scrappy with certain players just outperforming and playing better than expected to get them to 7 games. And I also think that the Thunder played down at times to their competition. I don't think that they played their best. But no, my reaction, I think this is good. As I said the last series, I think we're going to care about this. And I think that is like the most important thing going into these series. I mean, we always care, but do you care in bold? Like, do you actually care enough to like if you're down bad, are you going to fight back? And we proved that earlier this season. We played them with a very injured roster of ours. And we came back from like 25 to beat them in a game with Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon as like major pieces of that. Ant sat on the bench for the fourth quarter and didn't come in until like the last minute of overtime.
Yeah.
So it's like, and of course it's regular season. So I'm not trying to say that that's going to make or break like the difference in the playoffs. It's totally
a data point though.
It is an interesting point. But and another same thing I said last series and the series before is like, would you rather be known as the team that got the easy path or the hard path? And I think that OKC is going to be a difficult challenge. As you mentioned, they are not favored in the series. The Timberwolves are not. And they're not favored. It's kind of significant. Like Vegas is pretty much not guaranteeing, but like they think that OKC should almost run away with this. So that'll be interesting. And I think my initial reaction, the only thing that I get really worried about, I mean, I'll have some of my other things that I have about OKC later, but out of my initial reactions, seeing how they were able to defend in the last series and how they were able to foul Jokic a ton and get away with it, that's concerning to me because, Ant's not necessarily the best with that kind of stuff. Even Julius, I'd be a little worried about. Like if he, it's not so much the size factor with Julius. It's like they could probably put a real like if Caruso's able to get away with what he got away with against Jokic in the last series, specifically the last game. Um, like he will be able to stop Julius if that's the case. But a lot of that comes down to the refs and how they are going to allow that. But yeah, initial reaction, I'm happy. I'm feeling pretty good, and it like you said, it feels great to be back in the Western Conference Finals. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, getting into some X factors, I guess we can kind of transition into that. I've got a few. I've kind of got an obvious one, and then I've maybe got like an honorable mention that I don't think is going to happen. But I think going through this season, we played 4 times. 3 out of 4 times, Dante, Randall, and Rudy were out of those games. So they only played one. Randall played one game, and I think it was in December. And I'd like to speak for all Timberwolves fans if I can for a second. I don't claim anything that this team did before February this year. We were like nothing close to what we are now in November, December, or January, partially because of injuries, but also like I just look back, we were not a good team in December. We were not a good team in the beginning of the season. We were much closer to 500. So it's not something I'd like to claim. Um, and since Julius got back from the injuries that he missed in these games, we're like 26-6 or some crazy record. So Julius has certainly performed well in the playoffs, and he's going to be a focal point for the OKC Thunder, like for sure. Um, so my with my X factor, I would say it's Randall, although that's kind of obvious. I was kind of going for some cutesy ones in the last round, like Nikhil Alexander Walker and stuff like that. But I would say
He
Randall is
let you down.
yeah, he really let me down. I'm so bummed about that. He could have a good series this series too, but I don't know. I mean, we were going to need it too because the Thunder do have a little bit more depth than us. I think that people are sleeping on a little bit of our. I mean, we have 8 solid players. Um, and I can't remember what I was watching the other day, but somebody was saying that we only have like 6 legit off like players. And I guess Dante has not played well in the playoffs, and Nas even to a degree has not played super amazing, and neither has Nas. So I mean, in the playoffs they haven't been that great, but during the regular season they were options for us and really were good sixth, seventh, eighth mans for us. So Randall's my main X factor. Rudy to a degree too, because we didn't get to see him play that much against them. And one time we did, which I don't think was this season. I think it was last season, where he flexed on Chet mid play. But either way, that would be interesting. So those are kind of my X factor player wise. And then if we're not talking about players and we're just talking about like a stat or something like that, I think, or maybe not stat, I don't know what to say, like an element of the game. Um, Defense and rebounds, which you could argue is anything, but I think that is going to be more important than any individual player in this series. I think if we're able to rebound the ball effectively, um, that's going to be huge, especially rebounding. Defense, obviously, but our rebounding is good. And then my honorable mention: if we could somehow get Terrence Shannon Jr. to play, I don't think he's going to, but he would be an X factor for me if he plays. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my X factors and things that I'm looking for in this series. What's your X factor or
Ah,
factors?
I feel like I wanted to respond to a lot of that, but my mind has trailed off into other avenues here. So I'm just going to start talking off the cuff. Before I get into X factors and responding to your posed question, there's like some metadata here that are it's just so it's like so generic, but like I don't really view the regular season as relevant points. Just
Yeah.
that how we fared. Actually, 2 years ago, if you remember, we had a play-in game against the OKC Thunder to get in to losing
Yeah.
5 to Denver in like
Mhm.
2023. And that's when we had like Kyle Anderson and like Torian Prince and things like that, right? So we had a different roster makeup, and so did they. But we clamped them down, and Shea was useless, and we won that game. And it was a very, very powerful moment for us because it seemed like we just like rose to the occasion, and that was very meaningful basketball against OKC. We haven't faced them before, really, in like in this kind of capacity. Also, last year we beat Thunder in a grueling 7-game series, and maybe our legs got behind us, and we were like kind of like rusted and just like dead, tired against Dallas. OKC lost to Dallas in a grueling series as well. And, of course, Dallas was peak form with Kyrie and Luca, but we had found something. And it wasn't devastating how we lost, but like we had found something. But the start of the year, we had to retool, recover. And you said we weren't a great team to start. We were 500 at best.
Mhm.
But now we have peaked. We have hit a high of you know we have found gold with Randall. We have found gold with all these other pieces.
At the
So
right
this
time.
metadata that I've kind of like prefaced all this with, it leads into we are riding the momentum with easier series that we've had in years past, with a 5-game series, lots of rest, and they've had, besides the sweep against Memphis, a very, very long,
Yeah.
grueling series against Denver that
Mhm.
really like tested them until they broke it off in the second quarter in Game 7. And you can never really count out Denver. But hey, I said all that because I think they are hungry, desperate, and uh, like yearning for the chance to like take this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're here to stop them.
Mhm.
I think you said something about care factor, and you said something about like rebounding, um, and just like there's all these other sort of mismatches that we could get into. But my X factor is not depth this time. Not depth this time, because I think depth is fairly even. In fact, they
Mhm.
might even have the slight edge.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like clutch. The clutch factor is our X factor.
Yeah.
I think we have two, maybe three reliable shot creators and playmakers, and they have one and a half. They have one, but kind of a half if he's getting in this flow. I think that is going to be a big point of contention where we can have a variety of ways to play. They have one.
Yeah.
They oftentimes will go into this like kind of 5 out or like dunker spot with Hartenstein, and then they'll do this like isolate and kind of do little one-on-one play with Shea, and then he'll find some people in the thick of it. But Ant is growing into a different type of player, and Shea is who he is. He's so effing predictable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the clutch, I think we have a supreme advantage because if Ant maybe doesn't have something going on, if they game plan to shut him out, he'll pass it, he'll kick it out, and we have tools to respond. That's my biggest X factor is our ability to adapt and our kind of clutch gene in this series or in the season. Basically, we've been amazing. Um, all these close games throughout the season have shown relevancy because now we can like still kind of keep it cool under pressure. They blew
I
out some teams. They blew out Memphis on a couple occasions. They blew out Denver, and
Yep.
they haven't like had like ridiculously clutch moments this year. I guess there was a couple that they lost in
Yeah.
Denver,
Yep.
but I just think they're hungry, but we can take advantage of that.
I agree. I love those takes, especially. So I was trying to look this up before we were recording today, and I'm not smart enough to look up stats and stuff like this. But I was trying to, because like OKC's got a really good offense and defense, like net rating or something is crazy. But I was
Yeah,
trying to see. I was like, okay, how does OKC fare though when they go up against another top defense or another top offense or something like that? Like, how does that affect that rating? Do they significantly drop off? Because that's my feeling is that when they play somebody that's like actually a challenge. Now, of course, they had a great record. They were like 68 and 14 or something in the regular season. That's crazy.
yeah,
And they obviously are going up if in the span of an 82 game season, you're playing many good teams. And two of those losses were against us. So really they lost 12 games outside of us. So it's like they barely lost this season. So it's I'm curious to know, like, what happens when they actually go up against a top defense because they haven't really been going up against, especially this playoffs. Also interesting you mentioned they have the same we swept Phoenix in the first round last year. It was a very easy series for us. They swept Memphis, and it was very easy for them. Then they go on to the second round. They have a 7-game series where they win in the 7th game. We also won in the 7th game, given ours was a little trickier because we had to come back from being 20 down. Um, so yeah, I'm curious about that too. And then I love your point about the clutch too, because the other thing that I've been noticing about the Timberwolves going into the last half, or not even the last half of the season, the playoffs specifically, is we've started to kind of win the end of quarters and win the end of halves. Like it, maybe not always win them, but I can just tell that there's such an emphasis on that. Um, and I think that is huge in the playoffs, especially against teams that are younger because they, you know, I'm not saying that the Thunder aren't like a mentally tough team or aren't like or that they're immature or something like that. But I think, we have been in some of these situations where it's been tougher for us and we've had to learn more about closing out the end of quarters and halves. So, I think, we've seen all season, we've talked about how bad of starts we've had to games. Yet here we are in the Western Conference Finals because of our resolve at the end of halves and quarters. So I like that. And also Shea being I mean, not one dimensional, but like Shea being the main thing of their offense. We've got a lot of good defenders that could go up against him. And how much is that going to affect their offense? So I
For a
love this.
large portion of our tenure with Ant has been the focal point,
Yeah. Yep.
and we were trying to figure out how we could to fit the other pieces and also make them a focus on offense. And it would often be trap Ant because he's getting off, and then he wasn't able to distribute. He wasn't able to pass out of the double team, and they were hurrying Ant in a way that he has now picked up on some of that. He's
Mhm.
still making some costly mistakes here and there. They haven't
Yep.
really been detrimental, but this series you kind of have to play next to flawless. And my other X
Yeah.
factor is just win the turnover battle.
Yeah.
Like I love the idea of closing up possessions with rebounds, win the rebounding battle. That makes a lot of sense. I think the point of emphasis against the OKC Thunder is that they are young, scrappy, in each other's passing lanes. They are just recovery machines, and they have so much depth, so they can just sprint at you all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so if Ant is hurried, if Ant is struggling to get through Dort and the 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 hands of Caruso in the passing lanes and stuff, that'll be a problem. But I believe there's going to be a heavy emphasis on just like locking down um, play calls and simple actions. But then we've learned and watched and seen
Mhm.
Ant penetrate, distribute, penetrate and dump it to Jaden or
Yep.
Julius or something, or
Mhm.
penetrate and kick. And then Julius Randle has also learned and experienced that. They can't completely adapt to that, like other strategies of who's going to drive and kick. Jalen Williams is kind of super inexperienced, and I think we can definitely exploit that. But I think just like win the turnover battle
Yeah.
such that they can't run out in transition. They can't like sprint off and have those like very, very emotional, like potentially damning dunks, where they just like
Mhm.
uh, kill all momentum that we might have. So I think turnover battle is another like really key emphasis for me personally,
Yeah.
because we were looking a little not shaky, but we were looking a little suspect those last couple games, and that was against a pretty solid to great defense from Golden State that didn't have their big ace in the sleeve. But here's a like almost no blemishes roster construction, and well,
Yeah.
right, we have to play uh,
Yeah.
flawlessly on that end of the ball.
Yeah. Um, that brings me to some of the things that I'm worried about. We're gonna get to our predictions here shortly, but um, the defense of OKC is their strongest suit. I do believe that we have the ability to stop their offense, and I think so much of their offense is because they've played such good defense that they can then shoot with confidence. Like they clamped down on Denver in like the second quarter of that game 7 and then just took off because their confidence was sky high. They were getting turnovers, like you said. And then they're just able to really kind of take over. Um, so I'm gonna say some of the things that I'm worried about, and then I'm gonna give you a hot take, and then we can get to our predictions. So the things that I'm worried about, obviously the defense, it's crazy. Turnovers, as you mentioned, also, I think that that's what most of the talking points are that I've seen right now is the turnovers are going to be a problem for us, and I can see that because we've had turnover problems even in the playoffs. We were kind of lucky to get away with some of our turnover problems that we had, I think, against the Lakers. But anyways, um, OKC, here's some stats. Hashtag analytics. Hashtag, what am I saying? OKC has the fourth best offensive rating in the playoffs. We have the fifth. OKC has the first rated defense in the playoffs by a lot. We're the second. Why am I not worried about this series? I feel like this is something that we should be concerned about, but I feel like I'm comfortable. Like I feel confident going into this series. Um, and I feel like it's not a cocky version of confidence. I just think that our guys are locked in right now. And with the way Julius is playing, sure, like if they there's just a system that we have right now where if Julius is going to play as well as he's playing right now and facilitate as well as he's playing right now, um, okay, well then Ant's going to be able to go off. It's just this perfect balance of playmaking from those two, where they're going to have to stop one of the two of them, and if they can't, it's a problem. I get that they have a lot of defenders. I'm not saying that they're one dimensional and they have like one great defender. Like we have a Jaden McDaniels and a Rudy Gobert, and if you beat them, it's like that's a significant drop off to the next defender. But they have a lot of good defenders. But I don't know. I feel confident about this. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love that point so much. I think I am not arrogant to say that like we could lose the series and it would be honestly like I don't want to sound like a Minnesota passive fan here, but it would be okay. Like we have gone
yeah,
beyond our expectations for the season
for sure.
and back-to-back conference finals. It's okay. We're learning how to like win or whatever, but like
Mhm.
we are there now, and they are learning how to surpass demons and get to the finals where they are expected because they were 68 and 14 or whatever.
Yep.
Shea MVP, whatever nonsense, foul merchant galore. They are expected to be in the finals, and here we are going to thwart their plans and
Mhm.
take them down. I love the confidence because I felt arrogant, I felt cocky during the Lakers, and kind of after Curry went
Oh
down, I
yeah.
felt kind of like bad that we were
Mhm.
going to stomp on our opponent,
Yeah.
and or at least beat them. And so, but here's like a series where we might lose a couple games, and I'm not going to like waver off my prediction. I feel just very strongly about very keying in on very specific matchups that we're
Mhm.
going to wait. I think the Caruso is quite an X factor for them. I think their 3-point shooting is hot and cold. Like if like the others off the bench pop off, like
Mhm.
that's a concern. But it's usually a heavy doses of Shea, and then others kind of contribute here and there. But it's you know in a lot of ways, we can kind of match up very well to them. Hey, we have such a size advantage. You think that
Yep.
they have it because they have Chet, they have Hartenstein, they have Jalen Williams.
Yep.
Nope. Try guarding Julius Randle face
Exactly.
up.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well for you.
Yep.
Rudy Gobert will get fouls off of their attempts to kind of like get the rebound or body him out and whatever.
Mhm.
And so he's
Yeah.
going to get us in the bonus. All sorts of funny things are going to happen that Hartenstein might be played off the court like the way that you know
Yeah.
not, like this is an arrogant take, but in the way that like Jackson Hayes was, because it's just like how we can drive and he's not like stopping us without getting into foul trouble, in my
Yep.
opinion.
Mhm.
I think a lot of this is going to be relying on Ant, but I think it's not only in his hands, which is also just such a sweet revelation that we have in
Yeah.
this squad, where we don't
For
actually
real.
have to be all of our eggs are in one basket. We can kind of hand it off to other people and kind of reliably feel comfortable with Randall having the ball, with Conley having the ball. And, I think we can sprinkle in, 14 threes a game with our bench and others, and compete with them, compete with the best in the West.
Yeah. I agree. Well, I think it's time to get our predictions. Do you have a prediction? And Arby's, we have the meat prediction.
Yeah, what was it? Like 12 threes or more?
It
Then everyone
was,
would get a roast
yes.
beef. That was a little
Yes.
they had to cancel because everyone hit 12 threes in a
Yeah.
game in every game. Um, I think Wolves in 6. I think we close it out at home.
Mm.
Um, there was an article or someone was speaking about how much I think it was Mike Breen mentioned
Oh,
that
yeah.
Target Center is kind of rocking now, and it's like a
Yeah.
very fun place to play. And I guess he was announcing or
He
commentating the game.
was. Yep.
Um, and Shea, just hyped up his squad and his team and his stadium. I think it's going to be such a fantastic Midwest Northwest Division rival
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
matchup. But I think the Wolves have their number, and it's like hard for me to quantify and like state like verbatim. Here's why. Here's why. Here's why in
Mhm.
such a short time frame. But I
Yeah.
just think breaking down, Julius has the edge. Ant has the edge in a lot of ways. Even though there's an MVP, Ant has the edge because there's more
Mhm.
that he can do. Conley maybe not so much has the edge, but he has the experience and the you said care factor. We care about winning it for Conley. Like who are they going to try
Yeah.
to win it for?
Exactly. Yeah.
Kendrick Perkins. Uh, and
Maybe.
and I think we have the edge on Gobert. And I even think
Yeah.
we have the edge with Jaden McDaniels. This is super
I know.
like
I know.
Timberwolves fandom nonsense, but we have the edge on most of these matchups. Shea gets to the line a lot. He could get us into foul trouble. We have other tools in our chest to compensate for that. So I'm not worried whatsoever. Point of attack defenders, we have the edge too. I think they're just going to be in the passing lanes more, and they're going to be struggling to kind of adapt to how flexible we are in offense. Where Randall can penetrate. How do they stop that? Ant can penetrate. They're gonna try to shut him out. It's gonna be very interesting. We have in 6.
Yeah. I obviously have similar confidence, as you can tell throughout this video. Um, yeah. I mean, I just feel good going into this series. I feel like it coming into the season, I would not have told you. I did not tell you that I thought we'd go this far. In fact, I thought we were going to be done a little while ago. Um, but no, for all these things, I just like you said, I feel like we have the edge in a lot of things, and of course, could be proven wrong. I see a lot of people saying that this is going to be a great series. It's going to go a long series. Sure, I could see it going 7. I could see it going 6. Um, but as I don't know if great's the right word, but as Shannon Sharp once said, OKC, KFC,
Wow.
UFC, Wolves in 5. I think the Wolves win in 5. I think it's Wolves in 5 until proven different for all of these series. We've won in 5.
Oh.
So this is I think it's just, it's the media making this happen. It's Wolves in 5 the entire way. So I got Wolves in 5. And if besides my prediction, things that I would look for in the series, if we win game 1, I think that's just a huge like OKC has gone down in the series that they went down in the series against Denver, and there's like the Shea smiling as he walks up the court, cringe stuff. But I just think that if we are able to take this game, and I think it's great that we're on the road to start too. I'm very happy about that. I think it'll be good. So I think Wolves in 5, and I'm excited for it. This will be fun.
Yeah.
As always,
A lot of recent tape for us to like kind of watch and see how they like work through the Denver
yeah,
series.
yep,
And they just played yesterday. I mean, it was a matinee or whatever, and they didn't have to travel, but we play tomorrow. We played on Tuesday, so it's like
yep,
less than 48 hours or just over 48 hours or something. And we've had a lot of rest to kind of work our bodies
yeah.
and get new game plan, like acclimate to new ideas and concepts. It's gonna be really exciting. And I'm sorry for cutting you off there.
That's okay. No, the other thing too is like Wolves in 5, but also because I'm going with my theory. If Chris Finch has, I mean, he didn't have a ton of time to really prepare too much for this matchup, but like he has had a week now to prepare for the possibility of Denver or OKC, with probably leaning OKC because we've already played Denver so much. He's got a lot of ideas about that. So he's had this time. I just think that that's valuable. So we'll
Sure.
see. First game, Tuesday night. Looking forward to it. Normal times for all these games, by the way. Shout out to all you CST watchers. It'll be easy for you. For us, it's very early out here on the West Coast. But we'll be live after all the games. We might be similar to previous series. We might be a little late for some just because we're out doing stuff and things. We might watch some games together. But we should be live for most of these. Some of them might just be me, depending on how long the series goes. But we will be live. And hopefully we're making another one of these in 2 weeks. That'd be
holy
fun.
crap!
It'd be crazy.
It's hit me that like we win this series, we're in the finals.
It's crazy. 4 wins and you're in the finals. Pretty wild. Cool. Well, if you're new here, like I said, like the stream. If you're old here, like the stream. And subscribe to the channel. It does a lot for us, helps the algorithm, all that stuff. And share it with a friend. Share it with your grandma. We will be live tomorrow night, Tuesday night, after the game. Leave your predictions in the chat, and we will see you guys tomorrow night after the game.
I believe that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win the World Championship.